if there was one thing you could cling to for optimism for the 2025 New York Jets in terms of roster talent, we're hoping we catch lightning in a bottle with Fields. We're hoping the coaching staff finally works out. But I would say the offensive line would be the position group where you would have some optimism. Now, are the Jets a top 10 offensive line? Can they be a top this offensive line in the conference, in the division? I don't know, man. But keeping it from the Jets compared to the Jets, I'll say this. I think this offensive line is shaping up to be the best offensive line they've had since they made the playoffs. Pretty low bar for the most part. And it's probably the best position group on the team, I would say. And it's not a massive projection. They're returning 4 starters. So a lot of the numbers we're going to go through are, that unit played together, right? And now they're not going to be coached by Keith Carter, which should help. So the Jets last season were rated the 15th overall offensive line by PFF in their postseason rankings. Now, you may say that's BS, that's bogus, it's PFF. Okay, well, again, keeping it the Jets versus the Jets. Since they've released these postseason rankings since 2016, that's the first time the Jets have even finished in the top 20. And I think that checks out. Those seasons, 7 or so years between having the winning record with Fitz to up through last year. Yeah, Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson would probably agree with you. The Jets haven't had a very good offensive line. Bottom third of the league every single one of those years until last year when it was okay. League average according to PFF. Now it's definitely propped up by the pass pro, which is better than the run blocking. Jets pass protection unit was 5th fewest in pressures and 11th lowest in sack rate. And the reason I'm going through this with the offensive line because I think the Jets could improve this. Now, can they etch into top 12, top 10? I'm just asking a question. I'm not making any declarative statements. I'm asking a question. Can they etch into top 10 territory from 15th to 10th with the addition of Membu, Olu at left tackle, and bringing back the interior trio? Maybe it's going to take some health and some continuity. Like that's the Bills' offensive line. The Bills have a really good offensive line because they have no turnstiles and they don't get hurt. Or that's what it's kind of about. You don't have to have 5 All-Pros. Can you have no turnstiles and can you stay healthy? And I don't think the Jets have any turnstiles. Can they stay healthy? We'll see. And with these PFF rankings, again, since they've done them since 2016, out of all the teams in the top 10, every year, at least 8 of the teams ranking in the top 10 in offensive line at the end of the year made the playoffs. So you really rarely see an NFL team with a good offensive line be terrible. So if this offensive line lives up to at least my expectations, it's going to raise the floor of the team. Now, again, Fields, who knows? Receiver 2, Gross, coaching, who knows? All that. But you're not going to have a 2-win team with a good offensive line. It just doesn't happen. So that would be the thing to hang your hat on as a Jet fan, I think, heading into the season. But as we get into it, man, like I said, 5th fewest pressure rate, lowest pressure rate, 11th lowest sack rate last year. Now that was aided by Aaron Rodgers, 2.65 time to throw. That's very fast, top 8 in the league. But it was hindered by Aaron Rodgers' second to worst pressure to sack rate. So balls out quick, but when there is pressure, least amount of escapability in the league, especially when he was injured, hobbling around out there. Once defenders got into the backfield, the play was pretty much over and he was sacked. So we'll call that a wash in terms of quarterback impact on the offensive line. We could revisit that with Justin Fields because I got to be honest, even though he's more athletic, he manages pressure worse than even an older Aaron Rodgers. It is what it is. There's some other things, he can run the ball and he's younger, you're hoping he can get better, but with the information we have right now, the pressure management will be a decrease for going from Rodgers to Justin Fields, even in Rodgers' decline age. Now, some other numbers here. So even on the condensed pocket rates. So the Jets had the 4th longest amount of time, 2.6 seconds before they had a collapsed pocket in the NFL last year. So pressure rate, sack rate, collapsed pocket rate. These are all pretty good pass protection metrics, right? And if you look at just the sample of plays, it's not a ton, but when they had Fashanu, Tittman, Simpson, AVT, and Morgan Moses out there. Now, it was less than 200 snaps, but that would have been the first in longest time before getting your pocket collapsed. So the Jets' pass reduction, for the first time in a long time, was not one of the main reasons why they were bad. But let's talk about the run blocking, because that was one of the main reasons why they were bad last year. Now, the Jets were dead last in percentage of rush attempts, and they were actually, while they were in one-score games, either up by 8 or less or down by 8 or less, they still had the lowest run percentage in the NFL. So it wasn't like, oh, they're passing because they're getting blown out. Yeah, of course, that's part of it. But the Jets just last year, they just did not run the ball. Regardless of score, they were just a very low propensity running team. So I'm assuming if their run and pass was more balanced last year, their passing efficiency, which was nearly dead last in the NFL last year in like YPA and completion percentage, I bet that would have been better if we didn't throw the ball 600 times. And I bet their rushing efficiency would have been better if their running backs actually got to get some momentum and then touch the ball. So that was just like, hopefully coaching can be better with that. But in terms of efficiency, the run block win rate was 20th, not good. Even worse, the Jets running backs had 26th fewest yards per carry before contact. Now, part of that could be running back vision, but man, I remember a lot of handoffs that just had no chance last year. And all of the running backs, like all three of them had a bad yards before contact. So it's clear that was clearly a blocking issue. Now that could be just personnel. I think that the Jets, looking at their individual grades on PFF, which is my one gripe with PFF, just in terms of this guy's run blocking was this guy's pass blocking was this. It doesn't really make sense to me, a lot of those, but the deeper analytics do. And sometimes they contradict each other, because I saw like Tippmann and AVT's run blocking grades were a lot better. I thought they were both better in pass pro. AVT off the Achilles, I think exploding and pushing and moving in a power blocking scheme, I think he was rusty there. And I think there was a lot of plays in short yardage where Tippmann, being so tall, got out leveraged, and the Jets could not pick up a 3rd and 2 to save their life. And I think a lot of that was on Tippmann and AVT, to be honest. And Fashanu, when he was out there, he was a very poor run blocker at right tackle and guard, but he was okay when he played his natural position at left tackle. So yeah, man, run blocking not good. Now, can it get better? Yeah, schematically it was broken, man. And the Jets just went away from their strengths. Breece Hall had a ton of success in wide zone runs from under center. When Breece Hall gets wide zone runs from under center in his career, he's 4.8 yards per attempt. When he gets power runs from under shotgun, under 4 yards per attempt. Guess what the Jets did a whole lot of last year? Shotgun, power, gap runs to Breece Hall. Not his game. Now, he was banged up and not himself last year. He wasn't breaking tackles as well, but they just went away from the strengths of their best running back pretty inexplicably. And furthermore, the Jets had the 2nd lowest blocking grade from the tight end position in the NFL last season. So I think the tight end blocking was a kind of an under the radar, really bad weakness from the Jets team last year. I remember rewatching the Minnesota game, and with all the mistakes, Greg Z missing kicks. We threw 3 picks, including a pick 6 to a defensive lineman. Lazard, I believe that was the game he had the 4 drop passes. 4, including a touchdown. It's crazy. And I still think we would have beaten a good team in a neutral site if we didn't play Brendan Bates, because Brendan Bates, the blocking was a disaster in that game, and then he never played again. Thank goodness. But man, the tight end blocking was not good last year. Now, I got to be honest. That's an area where, okay, like the scheme could get better. Breece could get healthier in the run game. Olu's at his right position. AVT's off the Achilles. You got Membu in there, who's probably going to be an upgrade over an older Morgan Moses or Carter Warren, Max Mitchell. But the tight end blocking, look right now, the tight ends are Mason Taylor, who, Mason Taylor in year 3, 4, I imagine will be better at everything than Tyler Conklin. But rookie Mason Taylor at 21 years old versus seventh year in the league, Tyler Conklin, I don't know if he'll be a better blocker than that. And then Jeremy Ruckert is still Jeremy Ruckert. Hope he can get better. But then you have Stone Smart and Zach Kuntz, who can't block at all. So if there's a spot to pick up somebody when rosters get cut down, like a tight end who can kind of block a little bit, we could use that, because I don't see a reason from a personnel perspective to be super optimistic that the tight end blocking is better next year. And now obviously you enter in Armand Membu, who, again, is he going to be an all-pro as a rookie? Probably not, but I think he will be better than at least as good as Morgan Moses was last year battling through injuries, right? So can they get the run blocking to average would be my question. And maybe he doesn't have the ceiling to be an elite run blocking unit. Can they get the run blocking to average? Because both your tackles are better pass blockers than run blockers. I think most of the interior is that as well. So can you get that up to average? Schematically lean into the strengths of your running back. And then the pass protection unit, which was about top 8 last year. Run blocking was terrible. Pass protection unit, top 3rd quarter of the league. Can you maintain that? And if you could do that, if you could be an average blocking team with your stable of backs and then your quarterback running the ball as well, and be top quarter of the league in pass protection, it's probably going to raise the floor of your team. I don't think you're going to be a terrible team if you can do those things. Can they do it? Who knows? We'll find out, and we'll talk about it soon.